provided us with a facility that we can come and be able to get in out of the heat and enjoy a break and from the hot weather, and you blessed us to be able to be in a place of comfort, and we do pray, Lord, for those places that are not so fortunate. We know that there are many churches and many missions works that they have to continue on in conditions like we're experiencing right now without any air conditioning, and we are just inspired by their faithfulness, those Christians' faithfulness, that would be dedicated to continue and carry on and continue to serve and worship. Help us, Lord, to gain a perspective. We know the things that are the most important. We thank you and we praise you, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so fear of global calamity. So our scripture tonight is going to be Matthew 24, verses 4 through 14. The chapter entitled, What If Things Get Worse?
What if they get worse?
What if things get worse?
Merely the beginning of birth pains. Then when they will deliver you to tribulation and will kill you, and you will be hated by all nations on account of my name. And at that time many will fall away and will deliver up one another and hate one another. And many false prophets will arise and will mislead many. And because lawlessness is increased, most people's love will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end, he shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole world for a witness to all the nations, and then the end shall come.
All right, so one of the things he talks about is, we see on TV all the time a kind of a mixed message that we get, and he's making reference to, we see it all the time, pharmaceutical companies, and talk about, oh, what a wonderful drug we have, that's really, really amazing, and it's going to fix all your problems, and then all of a sudden they go into the disclaimer. This also might cause nausea and whatever, and even death. And he talks about this. Let's hope that practice, total disclosure, doesn't spill over to he talks about the delivery room. It might. He said, after all, about to be born babies need to know what they're getting into. He said, can you imagine the scene? A lawyer stands at a woman's bedside. She's going through the Lamaze breathing between contractions, and the lawyer right there in the delivery room reading the fine print of a contract in direction of her stomach. Welcome to the post-umbilical court world. Be advised, however, that human life has been known in most cases to result in death. Some individuals have reported experiences with lethal viruses, chemical agents, bloodthirsty terrorists. Birth can also result in fatal encounters with tsunamis, inebriated pilots, road rage, famine, nuclear disaster, and/or PMS. Side effects of living include superviruses, heart disease, and final exams. Human life is not recommended for anyone who cannot share a planet with evil despots or survive a flight on airplane food. So that, he's kind of like trying to be, being amusing there, but that's his point is, that's the thing is, as Christians, we think about, oh yeah, life is wonderful, life is great and wonderful and everything, and then we go into the disclaimers about, oh, and by the way, and here's all these things that we see that on the radar, if you want to think about it this way. And that's his way, like I say, he makes reference to Matthew 24. That's the disclaimer Jesus is giving us. Christian life, wonderful thing. However, here's what we got to look forward to. So we want to think about how we're going to approach this. Think about fear of global calamity. What's the difference between being aware and freaking out?
Like different spectrum. Freaking out is like way over here on the right. Wow. Aware is okay. They just go away. Let's have a party.
Okay.
You know, hurricane parties. You know they have in Florida. When,
Oh, I didn't know. They have hurricane parties?
oh yeah. Most of those people in Florida, they don't leave when hurricanes come. They just go down and have go to the bar and have a party. Buy what liquor they can before it's closed.
Okay.
It's
Hmm?
kind of being in control and being out of control.
Okay.
Who's in control?
Okay. So that's one of the things we need to, like I say, kind of think about. That you know, we can apply it in a lot of different situations, and why it's important to stay in control. You know, when I think about it, years ago, it was, and like I say, this is just a small example, but what a difference it can make. It was going to be a burial at Cache Cemetery, and the Wilbert Vault guy was out there, and it was cold. That day it was really super cold, and cold enough that, I don't know if anybody realizes, but metal, many times, under really, Tom knows, but real extreme coldness can get fragile, brittle. So the thing was, this was going to be a vault. So what they do, the difference between, you're going to put somebody in a concrete box versus a vault. The vault will stay, concrete box will stay at ground level. They have your lowering device that sits over the top of the box itself, and then this lowering device will basically then lower the casket into the box. And then put your lid on, take all your hardware off, and then you lower the whole thing into the ground. Where versus just a concrete box, your box is down at the bottom of the hole, your lowering device is up here, and then they lower the casket all the way down into the box, remove your hardware, close the lid of that box, and you're done. Well, anyway, so this guy's got he's got his vault and everything set up, and he's cranking up the straps for getting those ready for, and supposedly the funeral procession is going to get there within a short amount of time. When he hears the rod, it's really cold, he hears a rod inside that lower device snap. And when that happened, he did a freak out. Oh my goodness, what in the world? What are we going to do? Oh my, they're going to be here at any moment. I don't have time to rush back into town to get another one. And oh, he was doing this number, and he's just beside himself. And he's walking around his truck. You got all these doors with all their gear. It's one of those big trucks. They got all their gear that goes inside. These doors, double doors, and you shut them and secure and whatever. He's walking. All these doors are open because he's pulled all his gear out. He's walking around the truck and kicking doors. He's kicking doors. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm done. I told him, hold it. Just time out. Time out. I said, you got to. I said, you got to remember, when you're into this business, anything and everything can happen. So you need to stop and think. And he's just like, he doesn't know what to do. I'm like, do you have some board? You got walk boards on your truck? Yeah. Let's get them out. I had to talk him through. Get those out. We'll get the walk boards out, and we're going to take that lowering device, set it back on your truck. Put your boards on the box. cover that up with some of your carpets. When they get here with the casket, you got boards now. Set your casket up on top of your boards. Have a service. Everybody's gone. Then me and you and the funeral director and a couple of these guys, we're going to take the casket off, remove your boards, and then because your box is ground level, we'll just hand lower it down into your box, and then you're free to go. You're good to go then. He was like, oh. and that's what we did. But, and I told his boss, Dayton, I said, I don't know about your guy. I said, he did a complete, total freak out. And I said, we talked about that. It's like, yeah, all kinds of things have been known to go wrong out there with that. You have to stop and think about, what have I got? What have I got on this truck? What can I use? How can I improvise? And sure enough, a little bit later on, I was asking Dayton about it. He goes, yeah, he didn't make it. He's gone. So, that's the thing. When you freak out, like I say, it'll all just blow up. Everything will blow up. It's all a big mess. And, but stay in control and it'll work out. In fact, I like one of the sayings Max Lucado had a friend that his saying is, everything will work out in the end, and if it's not working out, it's not the end. I thought, that's a pretty good way to think about it. If it's not working out, it's not the end. Yeah. So, that's the thing that, we always have to. Yeah, I read. It's a very tedious book to read, but just whenever Troy Morgan, that was with the Combat Engineer Museum, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and gave us a couple of books, but one of the books was the entire history of all of the combat engineers for World War II. And I read it just to get an understanding and appreciation of what my dad had gone through, and some of understanding a little bit more about him and what he had to go through and whatever. And it was amazing, the appreciation I got was that those individuals it was constant from day one, improvising nearly every day. When they arrived at the beach at Normandy, one of the problems that happened was that they had this all figured out, a sequence of equipment that's we got to get this piece of equipment on land first, and then this part, and it was a logical sequence so that we get this on first, and then we got this part, put that together, and then you can just keep rolling. Well, the problem was they were wanting to get this mission up and running and off the ground. They wanted it done so fast. When they packed the ships, they didn't pack everything in those sequences. So you had a bunch of equipment, like say for instance, you had a bunch of equipment on the beach with no batteries, no vehicle batteries in them. That didn't show up until like day 2 or 3, the big shipment of batteries. Things like that. And everything was out of order, but that's the thing, they had all these people saying, we need to be off the beach and on further down, like 2 or 3 miles down the road. We've got it, and so those guys had to just figure out, okay, how are we going to get everybody and all these tanks and equipment down the road then without all the stuff that we were supposed to have? And they had to just start working day one, improvising. And they did. And It was just like, it was just amazing. Some of the, like I say, some of the bridges they had to cross, they didn't have their stuff, and so they were going into bombed out cities, and they started harvesting timbers and boards and tearing down buildings just to get material to work with, to build a bridge, because their stuff wasn't there that they were supposed to have. So you go into a town that's deserted, and you start tearing down houses and buildings, and start grabbing all that stuff you need. Okay, so freak out. Now, I think the thing is, we all know. We've all already been there, you know, and it's good to talk about and think about. Okay, well, you know, think about improvising, but. Has anybody ever think about a scripture or a scriptural picture for us, image of a freak out?
Walking on water.
Gold star, there was a gold star. She got it right off the bat. Yes, Peter. He's doing great. And all of a sudden, yeah, he had a freak out. Okay. So.
I'm kind of going through something similar to that because of the move. It was done so quickly. Things were just thrown in where they could be thrown in. Now I've got stuff missing. I don't know where it's at. And they're like, well, unpack. I can't unpack. So I'm just making the most of it. You know?
Yeah, so don't freak out. Make the most of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we think about, okay, being aware, and like I say, improvise or whatever. So here's a question. Like I say, we're going to think about this not so much from a strictly practical viewpoint, but maybe from moral, right or wrong. Everybody knows that terminology? Prep, you know what a prepper is?
There's no one knows the time of the day. You gotta be ready.
Okay. Everybody's got their bug out bags, right? Okay.
Spiritually,
Well, I'm talking about,
here's the bug out.
okay. So, I guess I'm seeing a few couple blank, since we're talking about global, because that's the thing, the question about global calamity, the idea is, yeah, when things get worse, when it all goes south, everybody prepare you to be prepared. Whatever that means. So the bug out bag was the idea that, let's just say we get invaded, which is not that far from, maybe that's not that far-fetched, whatever. We get invaded. All of a sudden, I was talking to one of our guys that, do you know Shady Ryan, or Ryan Shady? Okay, he's a Mason, he's a Mason. I've been talking to him, and anyway, we was talking about that today, and then I said, you know, sometimes I think about, what if I wake up one morning and I look out my north window, out my kitchen north window, and I see Chinese tanks rolling across that pasture coming, you know, oops, you know. Well, the bug out bag it's a bag of stuff that you need to grab right now to get out of there. Okay? So a lot of thought has gone into, what do you put in that bag if I'm going to escape? Grab and run. What are you going to put in that bag? It's called a bug out bag, and you take off. Okay. So a lot of things when we talk about preppers is, you know, things can really get bad. Let's talk about now natural. Let's say we talked about hurricane or Katrina or whatever. Preppers that in preparation stock up on what? Food. Food and water. That's a part of it. Huh? Toilet paper.
Gotta go by Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What's your first
Okay.
Shelter, food, water, security,
Okay.
go down the list. There's basically the 10 C's. I won't go through those. Have to do everything to that.
Okay. So the question is, as a Christian, should I even be really concerned about this business?
Well, go back to Y2K. People were freaking out about Y2K. They were stocking up. I know two people in particular. One lady is now gone home to be with the Lord, and the other one, he was like, yeah, whatever.
And they still got lots of room for that.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
I think we should always be prepared. I mean, that's the whole thing about being a Christian. The lampstand, be prepared. You don't know when he's coming. I mean, we're supposed to be prepared. It's not just for our own survival, but for our family.
okay. So yeah, some people have a real problem with this idea, this concept that we're gonna go to all this trouble and spend all this money, and then let's just face it, many of these people are referred to as fanatics.
Yeah.
They're fanatics, and
So is Noah.
huh?
So is Noah. You never read before. Why are you building that boat?
Okay. So let me jump ahead, because since we're this kind of goes along with it. So now these are the two extremes of perspectives. Pollyanna. Okay. Hey, life is wonderful. Nothing's going to happen. This is all going to turn out, work out in the end. Don't worry. Life is great and wonderful, rosy, and Chicken Little is, but the sky is falling. So where should we? What should be the proper attitude? I guess you'd say.
Well, if you prepare, you don't have to run out like chicken. You're going to you're prepared for emergencies, not just whatever it is. You have a plan. Yeah, you got a plan. If you have a plan, then you really should be figured out.
Okay. So what about those Christians that suggest, oh no, we need to be Pollyanna, life is wonderful, and it's all gonna pan out in the end. So don't worry about it.
Be happy.
Yeah, be happy. Huh?
Don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah.
They were never Boy Scouts. Be prepared.
Okay.
Um,
So what?
it depends on the day, I guess, whether I'm a Pollyanna or a chicken little.
Okay.
Like I said, that whole Y2K thing, I was like, oh my gosh. And okay, so big for instance, COVID, how everybody was stupid in the store. Took all the baby formula, all the toilet paper, and people were scraping. Like,
Okay.
I was like, why? Y'all need to get a grip. It's supposed to happen like this,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
stuff like that.
So, I think that's the thing we realized, that the Chicken Little thing, I think, is human. A lot of it's human, but that's more human nature. Um, but the Pollyanna, I guess what would be the downfall for having a Pollyanna attitude? You know, in today's daily world,
Like the ostrich with head in the sand,
okay,
as opposed to Pollyanna, chicken and the ostrich.
okay,
You don't acknowledge anything that's going on around you.
okay,
I think the Pollyanna is that you try to make the best of what's going on around you with a positive attitude.
okay. So, well, yeah, we're not saying don't have a positive attitude. You know, like I say, make the best of it. Now, here's the thing. As he mentions about, he talks in here about he talks about awareness and he talks about reality. And we've got to kind of keep those things in perspective as well. So I think, here's the thing I think about as we can apply it to mission. Let's talk about missions work. Ron Ellerick, who, like I said, you've heard me talk about, that preached at Midwest Christian College, preached at Apache, went there from there, from Apache to actually on Africa, and then you've heard me talk about, came back, had a ministry to Hell's Angels out in California for a lot of years, and then of course he had a heart attack several years ago, passed away. Of course, the man was, the other thing that he was also known for, he was right at really close to like 7 foot tall and was humongous. I mean, just not only tall, but built like a NFL linebacker. I mean, you know, on a 7 foot frame. But talked about, I remember him talking about when they were in Africa and there was a lot of unrest going on in Africa. Here he was there as a missionary, but they not only part of the what they did as missionaries there in the village that they were working in. You had a situation a lot like what's going on like in Mexico. You got all these gangs that are at work and very active in at work. And in fact, like I say, I mean, this is the reality. My cousin on my mom's side, that my mom's nephew was talking about when we had the funeral several months ago, a couple months ago. And we were talking about Mexico, and I was talking about, no, I ain't going, I'm not going, don't forget about going to Mexico. And he was talking about, well, you know, he had went over and had to have some dental, he actually went over and had some dental work done in Mexico, and got a bridge done. Really, I mean, obviously got to be real careful, but he had a good experience. Had dental work they did was good dental work for really cheap, reasonable price. But he talked about how that village that he went to have the dental work done, got it done, and he came back on stateside, and 1 week later, it was not a very big village where this dental clinic was set up at. But the cartel came in and killed every male in that village. And I said, yep, that just convinces me, forget Mexico. I'm not going to Mexico. Anyway, you had in Africa something very similar to that. You had these villages of people, and you'd have these gangs that were coming through and just wreaking havoc. So Ron Ellerick, the plan was, we're talking about, these are the missionaries that came up with and made the plan, or in other words, carried out the plan, was when they knew that they had people that were kind of on the outskirts, and they would kind of keep watch, whatever, and when they would see these group of marauders coming, would alert the village. And some of the missionaries were there to help get the people out of there and into safety. But Ron Ellerick's part of that plan was he was, I don't remember now what all he had, but he had weapons, and his job was then to establish a delaying action. So, in other words, here's the marauders that were coming. We're trying to get all of our people out of the way and get them to safety. And what he would do is he set up a position so that he begins to fire on them. So what that does is that slows them down or stops them, and giving the people enough time to get to safety. And that's the point. Here he is acting as a Christian missionary, shooting at people. That's reality. That's the point. And if you're going to be a Pollyanna, that's not going to happen. You're not going to have any, what would have happened? Village probably could have got wiped out. All those people could have died. Oh, we're here in love and peace, and, we're here to spread the love of Christ. And, so here's the thing. And I know there's a lot of Christians that do not like to talk about this reality business. Okay? So, here's the thing that we have, the idea, okay, we have, let's say, we get invaded. Do we do nothing and just let these people come in and take over? Or do we fight? I think what we need to think about is, let's think about, for us, an example today, a place called Ukraine. And what if they would have just said, okay, forget it, it's not worth it. Okay, then what?
The thing is, if one country backs down from the oppressor, what makes you think that he'll stop there? That your country's not the next country. So there has to be a front line.
Right. So this is the thing. All right.
So we have Pollyanna, Chicken Little, and John Wick.
John Wick. Wick. John Wick. Oh boy. Okay.
Why we had the Revolutionary War.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay, and lest we forget, let's think about, our God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. This is the God that commanded the Israelis, you go in and you wipe everything out, even the animals. Nothing is to survive. Okay, all right. Everything. Okay. So, all right, here we are now. Like I say, here we are, Christian. We don't have any of this craziness going on in the world. Now we're going to talk about the scripture here a little bit about Jesus, because Jesus is going to talk about wars, rumors, and wars, rumors of wars, and all those things. But here we are, Christian. Every day, turn on the news. Onslaught. Bad news on the TV, computers, media, social media, wherever. How do we handle this flood of fear not? Okay. Okay. Well, that's what Josh McDowell, who is it? Max Lucado. Yeah, I'm not losing it. Max Lucado's whole series of lessons is about fearless. That's the whole point. He's trying to get us to a point where we will be fearless. Okay? So,
Jesus said, "Be ready to head for the mountains."
okay. All right.
Keep an eye out.
Okay. One of the things that, and that's the thing that we got to be careful about, to be able to keep a correct attitude. Not Pollyanna, not Chicken Little, but like I say, somewhere in the middle is where we want to be. We want to be aware, but at the same time, we don't want to have the out. We don't want to be the people that are freaking out. We want to be in the middle there, somewhere ready, but at the same time in control, as we said. So here's the thing. It's very possible if you're not careful about, and that's the thing, that key word there, onslaught, flood of bad news. Okay, you have to have some awareness. But the other thing is, you got to be careful that you don't dwell, or we call it in the world of psychology, ruminate. You know, cows ruminate. They chew the cud. They get that, the cud, whatever, they chew it, they swallow it. And then what happens, this is this natural part of the cow's digestive process. Bring the cud back up, chew on it some more, swallow it down. Brings that back up, chew on it some more, swallow it down. What was it, 7? They have 7 stomachs? I can't remember, 5 or 7 stomachs cows have. And that's because their stomach is not like ours. That has the capability of doing it all in one. They have to, the cud's got to go through all these different stomachs to be able to completely digest the food. But the point is, why we call it ruminating is, we got all this negativity, and all right, I'll process that. I'll chew on that and I'll process that. Okay, now all right, I'm done with it. I'm going to get rid of it. But the problem with a lot of people is we don't let it stay. We want to bring it back up, dwell on it some more, chew on it some more. Okay, push it down. Oh, back up again. Let me chew on that and dwell. And we have one of our clients right now. We were talking about this. Had that discussion yesterday. This lady wants to be sick. She wants to be ill. She wants to be sick. She wants to be mentally ill. And we talked about that. You know, that's the problem. Part of the problem. You know, she talks about, oh yes, I want to get well. No, you don't. The reality is, she wants to be sick. They call that hypochondria. And that's the thing. Her whole life consists of just, that negative, real negative. Oh, woe is me, and I've got this, and I've got that, and this pain, and that pain, and which we know hypochondria, half of that's not even actually happening. But I mean, that's where they're at. One of the things, and she's probably going to give me a whooping when we're out of here, but COVID happened, so just you can turn it off now if you want to. Okay, COVID started up and happened, and you know, of course, they were telling everybody stay at home, don't go out, whatever, and all this business, and would come, and she's starting to have a real negative reaction. And we talk about, and Glenda did the same thing, right, Preston? When COVID happened, stay in front of that TV all day long and listen to every little news story that came out about it. And it was and wound up being the, oh my goodness. Huh? Channel 200. And the result was then you get this, oh my goodness. And I told, I'd say, you can whip me for that. I told Mom, turn it off. Watch, you can watch it, watch a little bit of it. Okay, yes, we're having a COVID pandemic, whatever. But don't watch it all day long. Turn it off. You can watch the news and turn the thing off. Because if you, all day long, you get the onslaught, the flood of it, it will have a really, okay. So here's the thing, we realize, we know there's a lot of people, Christians, that talk about, the end of the world is coming. What's it, the hippie, the end is near, The end of the world, wars and rumors of wars, and earthquakes and famine, and woe is me, kind of thing. So how we handle it is, don't get carried away. Okay, all right. So Jesus said there's wars and rumors of wars, and it talks about it all. So is it praying for global? Because we know that if we believe in scriptures, it's going to be war all the way to the very end. Isn't praying for global peace acting in vain?
God
Huh?
isn't going to go with the rule.
Huh?
God is in complete control of everything.
Okay.
And even throughout the Bible, where, just a small number of believers who pray, God has taken his hand and changed his wrath, And so, I just wish we always pray for peace. But knowing that we don't know what God is going to do next. He's going to do, he's going to complete his plan. But, we should always ask for peace and not always these sort of safety and security of our own hands. We should always ask for
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was kind of the next question. So if there's never going to be global peace, then what should we pray for?
safety of our families.
Okay.
The safety of our country, We can still come and worship and have our freedoms to those things.
One of the things that he brings out here, and like I say, of course, part of the calamity, global calamity that he talks about is, of course, Jesus talks about in Matthew 24, we just read, where he talks about the persecution that's going to come. And one of the statistics that he had given in here, and there's actually, and I had forgotten about, there is a couple of websites that I was going to say, if I can pull it up real quick, I can't find it right off the bat, but anyway, there's a couple of websites that you can actually go on there, but if I find it, I'll let you know what it is if you're interested in it. But, one of the recent numbers is that Christians that are martyred in the world right now, that what they figure out is 165,000 Christians are martyred every year. This is the most recent numbers. Now, one of the questions that he brings up here is, it's a very interesting one, is, so why we're talking about around the rest of the world, why aren't we seeing that here in America? It's a good question. Why isn't that happening here?
Martyrdom, or just.
Martyrdom. Christians being killed for preaching and being Christian and telling the message.
Because there's still a support for
Still what?
support.
Still a support. Okay.
And laws and protections of individual
Yes.
and freedom. And freedom of religion, speech still. So, and not every country has that.
It was in this one. Okay. No.
China, you can't talk out against the government, or you'll disappear.
Yep. There was a. Okay. There is a ministry called the Voice of the Martyrs, and the other one, the Global Evangelization Movement. 165,000 martyrs per year, more than 4 times the number of the century past. So, anyway, that's a very good thing. But we need to think about our country today. Even though we see all this going on, all the rest of the world, we are being spared, and that was one of the questions he asked. You know, we have to think about, God, why are you sparing us? All this stuff that's going on everywhere else. Well, that should be a positive thing to think about. All right. One of the things he talked about, and Jesus talked about, and he starts off in verse 4, Matthew 24, verse 4. Do not be deceived. That's what he says. Do you fear being deceived?
That's why I don't.
See, or this one says, see that no one misleads you, huh?
That's why I don't answer the phone most of the time, but if I get my phone number, I don't answer. Because I know there are the scammers out there.
Okay. But he's talking about, when you talk about being misled, he's not talking about being scammed. He's talking about many's going to come in my name, saying I'm the Christ, and will mislead many. And at that time, verse 10, many will fall away, will betray one another, hate one another. Many false prophets will arise, will mislead many. People's love will grow cold, but the one who endures in it will be saved. The gospel. Okay, so anyway, he's talking about being misled away from God. Do you fear about being deceived?
How many churches now are being split, torn apart because of
The woke?
the woke movement?
Yeah, and that that's one of those. I keep hearing that terminology, that phrase, which I have never really taken time to find out the definition of what that's all about. But I know it's not a good thing. It's a negative thing, whatever. But yeah.
Well, just yesterday, 6,000 Methodist churches are pulling away from the Methodist Church because of their adoption of those.
Yep.
6,000. It's 1/5 of their membership
Yep.
is disagreeing with that policy. And it's surprising. A lot of mainstream TV
and that's the thing, this is just one place we know, where the scriptures talks about, Paul talks about even the elect. When he's talking about the elect, he's talking about people that are Christians. Even Christian people in that time will get carried away, deceived.
Yeah, that preacher that you talked about molested the little girl. Was it a preacher or some church that you,
Who was that chick chick?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Which I have not heard anything about that congregation in quite a while now, but yeah, that happened. You know, so.
Webster's dictionary says that woke is aware of and actively attentive to important societal facts and issues, especially issues of racial and social justice.
Racial and social justice, which can mean a lot of things.
You have to be acceptance of accepting of everybody. You
Yeah.
can't have any moral standards that would
Yeah.
interfere with someone else's feelings.
Well, this is the thing, we know that's how it will come about. I mean, Jesus, the scripture says Satan comes as an angel of light. I mean, all this stuff, and it's going to, it's going to sound good. Okay? So, I don't, huh? Yeah, I mean, now here's I'm going to get myself in trouble, I don't know, but anyway. The Mormons, and this is the thing, you know, I haven't seen any advertisements in a while, but if you've ever watched any of their commercials that they used to advertise, and they always had commercials and advertisement would show a picture of a family scene, and it was all about, you know, the family being together as a family and all eat at the table together and really pushing. It looks good, it sounds good, and for all practical purposes, a good message. Yes, we need to be the family. We need to be back together as a family and like it used to be. But here's the thing: what does it say? Was it swallow than that? Or how does it go? I don't remember now, that old saying, whatever. You wind up swallowing a whole bunch of stuff that you didn't want to swallow. Strain the net to catch a fly, or well, I don't remember, that's one of the other ones too, I don't remember now. But anyway, that's the thing. You swallow, well, just like a fish. The fish takes the bait, didn't anticipate the hook, you know. Okay? And that's what happens. And this is what we're going to see when it talks about the end of time and the deception. There's going to be all kinds of messages that's going to be given that's going to sound just like, that's it. That's the answer. This is the solution. This is all really good stuff. But that won't take very long, and all of a sudden everybody, I think those that are going to be left, I think it's going to be those that are going to be left here behind are going to wake up and realize, oops, what did I just do?
And the deception is actually getting so real.
Yes.
The more you hear about the artificial intelligence and the ability to mimic voices that you're familiar with, or any you're saying, well, he said that. No, I didn't say that. That's not
So, I mean, say that's the way it's going to be, but some people have suggested the book of Revelation, and talks about how the Antichrist, and part of the miracles, he will perform these miracles, will have this statue. And all of a sudden this statue starts talking to the people. A statue. And everybody's going to be like, oh, this is, huh?
They can mimic and fake everything out of it. So there's absolutely nothing that they can't change.
So some people have suggested, okay, yeah, there you go. Just use some AI technology and we'll have this statue standing up there just like a statue, and all of a sudden, turn it on, starts talking to people. Everybody's going to be like, oh, this has got to be of God. It's a miracle. Okay. So my question is then, okay, if you, like say, the concern is being deceived, so how do we counteract that then? How do we...
Know the Bible. You have to put your faith and understanding and studying the Bible.
Know the Word. Okay. Now, like he talks about where the nation, like say, rise against kingdom against kingdom. They will betray one another, hate one another. Because lawlessness is increased, most people's love will grow cold. So where do we think we are on the love thermometer?
You know, I've been questioning that for a good minute. My family has fallen apart completely. I can't tell you when the last time was I had a good conversation with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't believe that the phone works both ways.
Yeah.
My brothers live right there, a block apart. They haven't spoken in over 10 years. Before my dad died, they hate each other, and they'll tell you they hate each other.
Yeah.
That's not.
The scriptures also talk about that in that day and time, that where that fathers will be against children, children against fathers, and
Yeah.
whatever, and delivering them to death. Thinking about that that your own children would be the responsible for ratting you out and saying, yeah, he's a Christian.
A lot of people know that my brother and I don't see eye to eye quite often. And when I discuss that with other people, most everybody says, yeah, almost everybody has one like that. And that was really surprising to hear that, and how many times I've heard people say, yeah, I have one like that too, and it just goes on down the line. It's the same thing. So, yeah, it's nothing that's far and few between. It's out there quite a bit.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
I see you and Rick in here on Sundays, and I've heard some stories about Rick. Why?
You just haven't heard stories about John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a little bit more sneaky. Yeah, that's the word, sneaky. I was just a little bit more sneaky about it. Okay.
But,
All right.
I mean, it's stuff like that, that gets me scared.
Okay.
Gets me to thinking, asking questions, how do we know?
One of the a lot of people in laughed and as a deep philosophical movie, Conan the Barbarian. Everybody's like, what? Conan the Barbarian? And that came out when when I was at Midwest Christian College, went to see it, and we were all, that was back in that at that day and time, and that population, we were all about analyzing everything, kind of thing. So all these movies would come out, Star Wars. Oh yeah, all these spiritual meanings behind Star Wars. But Conan the Barbarian, you have to really dig deep to see some of it, whatever. But if you ever watch it, the very first thing that comes on the screen is a quote from Friedrich Nietzsche, and talks about iron, strength in iron, whatever. Okay. Well, in the movie, there is talking about this love. The king that winds up commissioning Conan the Barbarian to go get his daughter, the princess, because James Earl Jones plays the snake. He's the leader of the snake cult, and he has led the king's daughter in, seduced her and brainwashed her into the snake cult, whatever. And Conan the Barbarian's in there talking to the king, and the king says, it's been so long ago, I can't quote it verbatim, whatever, but he basically says this: there comes a time in, and he was talking about Conan the Barbarian. He says, my daughter is brainwashed, and now here's the reality, the realization, all that my daughter has for me is a knife in the back, literally. And he makes this comment. He says, there comes a time in the king's life where the gold becomes worthless, the throne room becomes a prison, and the only thing basically that matters or is worth to you is the love of your child. And I thought, like, wow, that was pretty deep. That was the point. That was the point when he read that realization that his daughter wanted to put a knife in his back. Why? And what like I say, I thought about, why did? It was because she got deceived and she got wooed into believing in this garbage about a snake god, whatever. Well, think about it. We're going to have a lot of people, think about it in a way, at the end of time, Christians that will be wooed away into believing in a bunch of garbage to the point they will be ready, even your own children, or maybe as parents will, like say, when it becomes illegal to become a Christian, your own parents or your own kids will rat you out to the government and say, yes, he's a Christian and he's a follower, and they'll come get you and off with your head. Think about, wow, that's your own.
So far-fetched. The rapture during World War II.
Yeah.
It's the youth, Hitler youth turning in their own family.
Yeah.
Because they've been brainwashed in the school. And that's where they get their nurturing in the school, not at home.
Yeah.
So, sure.
Well, and that's the thing. There again, that angel of light. They're sold a bill of goods. Not only them, the whole nation. That the idea that Hitler's solutions. This is all good. This is it. This is the solution to our problems. This is the answer. And for a lot of those people, it made sense. Oh yeah, this is good. This is the way it is. This is. This is not a negative thing. This is a good thing. And they just bought right into it. There we go. All right. So prayer matters that we need to pray for the family of Brent Ash, passed away. I guess yesterday evening. Has been battling cancer. I know we've had him on our prayer list for quite a while. Let me just say that Brent, because as we've been following those that watch our live stream and our YouTube and whatever, Brent has been one of the ones that has been following, watching our Facebook and our YouTube. But anyway, passed away, and I don't know when that service will be, but remember the Ash family in prayer. Keep Malia in prayer. Today I know it was like this afternoon Renee was sending me a message saying, okay, she's coming home, and then, nope, she's not coming home. Oh, yes, she is coming home, so.
She did come home, she's back to fever, so it's keeping longer, I guess, earlier today.
Anyway.
They let her come home. Amanda said she's getting a little bit better. She's still, her appetite and all is coming up.
Okay, so let's keep little Malia in prayer. Okay.
Corey Smith family. His sister is Leslie Smith.
Bob
Yeah,
Smith.
he died. I don't know what was going on.
Who is it that died?
Corey Smith.
Corey did?
Don't get Tommy.
Hmm?
Don't get.
Yeah, I do.
Corey Smith,
Corey Smith.
It's Lisa.
oh, Lisa, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
James.
yeah. And he was married to, like I said, I don't know if y'all remember, the family came here to church years ago, Glenn and Sandra Smith. It was odd because a Smith married a Smith, whatever, but anyway.
Yeah.
But Glenn and Sandra Smith, and they had 3 girls. One of them was Bonnie, and I can't ever remember the other. They lived out there at Timber Lane, and they had cows, and they were all into show cows, doing show cows. If you saw them, you probably remember. Saw their faces, you probably remember them. They came to church here years ago. But it's Bonnie. That would be Bonnie's son-in-law. Her daughter is Cody.
Cody, yes.
Anyway, but
3 small children and Cody.
yeah, but so like I said, if y'all remember, Glenn Smith was one of the bank officers for Security Bank for a lot of years. So if that rings a bell for anybody or not, okay. Like I say, they lived out in Timber Lane forever. So, okay, we'll keep. I didn't know it was Corey that did. Okay, let's keep that family in prayer. All right.
A lot of homelessness going on right now in this heat.
Mm-hmm.
There's somebody new on Facebook every day talking about, I can't stay in my car, I'm staying on this curb.
Yeah.
I need something to eat,
Yeah. Gary had his pacemaker put in, and I think is my understanding doing well,
It's been fun.
doing okay.
Her
So-
road is supposed to- her road is supposed to have started.
Okay, so let me.
So I'm turning out, she doesn't really want this to go out over,
Okay. So Sam, would you want to close us with prayer tonight?
Our Heavenly Father, we're so grateful for this opportunity to come to fellowship and study your word. We just ask for your love and support during this time for our families and our community, and give us strength, Lord, that we can truly be fearless, knowing that you are always with us. Pray, Lord, for our country and those we love. Be with us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Oh, I was going to say, talking about Calamity, and this is the thing. Here we are. Anybody catch the news today? It was on Good Morning America this morning, which I mean, it's not. I don't think it's really that much news. Like I say, everybody that's been staying up and aware and in the know. It was just amazing to me that now on national, like I say, a show like Good Morning America, they are talking about that now. I guess I don't know if it was the government mentioned it or whatever, but somebody up there, they had a correspondent at Washington D.C. that was reporting that they have decided, okay, our national debt has gotten so far out now. It's kind of like beyond the point of no return. Nothing we can do, and that the solution probably will be in the very near future is for them, the government, to start cutting out a lot of programs, a lot of government programs, like, you know, things like Social Security.
Well, you know, they downgraded creditworthiness for the United States for the second time in the last 2 years. So